This is CBC Vancouver News.
Two days after an attack on a school group,
we need people to stay out of our trap and snare sites.
The hunt for 3 grizzly bears in Bella Coola intensifies. Plus,
my job is very demanding. I don't have 9 to 5.
a Surrey daycare expands to offer 24/7 childcare. A look at the demand versus the reality. Also,
absolute mayhem. The roads aren't designed for this level of traffic.
New Westminster's new Costco reignites criticism of infrastructure failing to keep up with the city's growth. Hello, I'm Tanya Fletcher. Thanks for joining us. We begin along the Central Coast. More conservation officers have descended on Bella Coola this weekend. The search is expanding for 3 grizzly bears after a group of students and teachers were attacked Thursday. 4 of them remain in the hospital tonight with significant injuries. The CBC's Yasmin Horea is in Bella Coola with the latest.
The BC Conservation Service is now trying to capture 3 grizzly bears, a mother and 2 cubs, following an attack on a group of about 20 elementary school students and teachers in Bella Coola. RCMP and conservation officers are on the ground and in the air trying to find the animals. Conservation officials say they are working with wildlife experts to take DNA samples to establish if they are indeed the bears involved in the attack.
A lot of work goes into these, and these can be lengthy. The bears don't necessarily cooperate, but we're doing everything we can, working with the RCMP and the nation. And want to reiterate again that we need people to stay out of our trap and snare sites. This is, speaking from experience, this is probably the most dangerous thing that conservation officers do.
The Conservation Service says wet weather has hampered search efforts and that more staff will be deployed as needed. The search began Thursday after the school group was attacked while eating lunch along a trail. 3 children and an adult were taken to hospital with major injuries.
You know, there has been improvements, but it's going to be a long road to recovery, not only physically but mentally.
Officials say they have not yet decided whether the bears will be euthanized. Yasmin Ghanea, CBC News, Bella Coola, British Columbia.
The bear attack in Bella Coola is igniting debate around BC's ban on grizzly hunting. Our Jana Bailon continues our coverage with more on calls for the province to reconsider that ban.
The province banned the hunting of grizzlies in 2017 to protect what it describes as one of BC's most iconic species. But the BC Wildlife Federation thinks the provincial government should consider lifting the ban.
Over time, we're going to have more and more conflict with bears.
The conservation group advocates for hunters.
I think that it'd be incumbent on the province to start talking to people who actually live with grizzly bears and try to come up with some solutions.
The province, however, says it's not considering it just yet.
Right now, our focus is really on finding the bear that was involved in this attack. This is an ongoing live situation where the bear is still at large and the community doesn't feel safe. And the RCMP and the Conservation Officer Service is working closely to try to locate the bear.
The Grizzly Bear Foundation, which works to conserve the bears, warns against linking the hunting ban with the recent bear attacks.
These are one-off things. You can't use hunting as a management tool and expect it will reduce these attacks.
Officials are also stressing that attacks, like the one on Thursday in Bella Coola, are extremely rare. Jana Bailon, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, convoys and rallies were held across Canada today, including several here in BC, in support of farmers' rights. And protesters say they want to raise national and global awareness about the challenges facing many farmers, while also demanding greater accountability and transparency from the federal government, particularly the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. The demonstrations follow a CFIA order that led to this month's cull of more than 300 ostriches at a farm in the interior after avian flu was detected nearly a year ago. On the island, the BC Coroner Service is investigating 2 deaths at an industrial site in Chemainus. Mosaic Forest Management, which operates across Vancouver Island, says the incident happened at an independent contractor's facility. Well, the company says it did not involve its employees or its property, but did suspend its operations out of respect. WorkSafe BC says it was made aware of the incident Friday afternoon. RCMP have not yet responded to our request for comment. And to another workplace tragedy, a contract worker has died at a mine in northern BC. Taseko Mine says there was an accident at its copper mine northeast of Williams Lake. The company says it happened around 5 p.m. Friday in an active mining area of the Gibraltar mine. It says the site has been secured and that mining activity has halted for the investigation. This is the second worker to die at a BC mine in the last several days. A man also died at Elk Valley Resources coal mine earlier this week. Safety and congestion concerns are brewing in New Westminster, all because of a new Costco. Opening weekend caused traffic gridlock on many arteries, and the mayor says it reflects the systemic problem of a growing city outpacing its own infrastructure. Our Janella Hamilton has more.
A steady stream of cars can be seen coming into and out of the new Costco Business Center in New Westminster Saturday. Traffic flowing a little easier this weekend compared to last.
There was a lot of people who came out to see the new Costco opening, and that resulted in just backups around the Queensboro Bridge, around access to the Queensboro neighborhood.
Since it opened, people who live in the area have voiced a lot of frustrations and worry.
Especially if there's an emergency, like, well, there's a fire station, but like an ambulance or police or something like that. We're coming up to Black Friday, and then the Christmas shopping season is coming up. And will this be an ongoing thing that happens day after day after day after day?
Some residents say traffic on the Queensboro Bridge has suddenly surged.
Absolute mayhem. The roads aren't designed for this level of traffic. Obviously, if you're going to put something big in like this, you should actually adapt the area so that it can cope.
People from all over Lower Mainland, Richmond, Surrey, Vancouver, because this is the first business Costco, so it's pretty much all people are going into our location.
The mayor says the city is working with the province to come up with solutions like road improvements, more on and off ramps, and local only traffic lanes.
We are doing a bit of a follow-up with Costco, and we're going to see how things develop a little bit as this initial surge sort of goes away. But we're going to continue to monitor the situation. If we have to make engineering changes, we'll do that.
In a statement, the province says it recognizes the complex issue given the mix of residential and commercial development in the Queensboro neighborhood, and it is working with the city to understand impact. And it's not just here.
This proposal places an industrial-scale business directly inside a newly developed residential community.
Earlier this week, a proposed Costco in South Surrey sparked pushback from people with similar concerns. But for those in New West, residents want action now and say expanding the bridge should be the priority.
Whether you're taking transit or you're driving, they all use the same bridge. The buses get delayed, the vehicles get delayed and things as well. So really seeing more capacity.
New Westminster is one of the fastest growing cities in the Lower Mainland, projected to grow 29% in 5 years. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, New Westminster.
For many parents, finding childcare outside of normal working hours can be a major challenge. That's why one childcare facility in Surrey is now offering round-the-clock care. Our Benny Brach has that story.
This childcare in Surrey offers 24/7 care. Its founder, Reshu Pratik, struggled for years to find childcare that aligned with her schedule as a software engineer.
It is more the idea of helping parents and making people's life better. Even providing employment to the women on flexible hours.
Parents here say the model is helping them get back in the workforce and find balance.
I'm also a software engineer. My job is very demanding. I don't have 9 to 5.
This parent is now taking evening classes to be an early childhood educator herself.
I'm so happy I can drop off my daughter in a late evening class.
It's a model that very few childcare spaces offer in BC. The province says 4% of childcare facilities provide weekend care, 1% offer early morning or evening care, and again, only 1% offer overnight care. Flexible childcare is something that this parent hopes to see more of. Alicia Ludlow is a plumber who's relied on family, friends, and nannies to raise her son.
It's very difficult to find before and after school care. At one point, I ended up working part-time for 2 years because I couldn't find anything, and it was such a struggle.
Ludlow says she's aware of a number of tradeswomen who have left their careers due to similar barriers, and she's still looking for more affordable and long-term childcare options. Advocates say the demand for flexible childcare is growing.
So there's a big demand for earlier mornings and later evenings, less demand for actual overnight care.
But Gregson says a key challenge is funding.
The model that we have from the BC government right now makes it difficult to hire staff to do traditional kinds of shifts, and very difficult to open earlier or stay open later.
BC's Ministry of Education and Childcare says the province is exploring more opportunities for more flexible childcare options that are safe, high quality, and appropriately staffed. It says recent legislation is removing barriers to provide more childcare on school grounds as well. Back at Mighty Cubs in Surrey, Raishu hopes to keep expanding the around-the-clock service, providing children, parents, and staff more opportunities to grow. Benit Brach, CBC News, Surrey.
Well, big news in local sports now in soccer. The Vancouver Whitecaps battled LAFC in the MLS Western Conference semifinal right to the bitter end.
Against Hugo Lloris to send Vancouver to the conference final. It's gone! Vancouver are through! Vancouver have won it!
And that's Matias Laborda firing a shot past LAFC keeper Hugo Lloris to seal the win. In the penalty shootout, it earns the Whitecaps their first ever spot in Major League Soccer's Western Conference final. It was the third year in a row these two sides have met in the playoffs, but LA ousted Vancouver the other two times. The Caps will now face the winner of Monday's Western Conference semifinal matchup between San Diego FC and Minnesota United. That final game will be next week. And an overtime goal gave the Vancouver Golden Eyes a 4-3 win over the Seattle Torrent, marking the debut game for both teams in the PWHL. Abby Boreen scored the game winner. We caught up with her to talk about the milestone moment in such a milestone game.
Hannah Bilka gaining speed. Venisheva steals the puck away. In comes Denise Venisheva in overtime. Venisheva delays. A pass. It's Boreen. She scores! The game-winning goal in overtime at the hands of Abby Boreen and the Vancouver Golden Eyes.
It makes me emotional. I know a lot of our teammates were emotional, and you look across the room and you see a bunch of people in jerseys throughout the whole rink.
Snuck through. It looked like Schroeder may have made the save. Abby Boreen got just enough on that.
My line mate Teresa made a great play over to me, and all I had to do was hit it and hope it went in, and it did. And you know, it was just so amazing. The crowd erupted. It just capped off, you know, a really special night, historic night for us here in Vancouver.
A game winner in overtime at home.
The fans are really getting into it. It just goes to show that Vancouver, you know, wanted a hockey team. They got one, and they showed out for us. It really means a lot to me and my teammates to see all the love and support.
Pacific Coliseum bringing over 14,000 fans to their feet.
Still ahead, objections raised as COP30 pushes through a climate deal that sidesteps fossil fuel concerns. We'll take a look at that next. Stay with us. Welcome back. Rotating strikes by Canada Post workers are now on pause. Their union and the corporation say they've reached agreements in principle on a set of new contracts.
At this time, the union agreed, as long as things are moving smoothly, that there will be no strike, there is going to be no flyer ban, no overtime ban, and there will be no national strike, as long as everything is going smoothly. And I'm very optimistic both Canada Post is serious about having a collective agreement that is ratifiable by our membership.
The Canadian Union of Postal Workers launched a nationwide strike in late September after Ottawa announced sweeping changes, including an end to home delivery. Negotiations are now underway to finalize the language of those deals. Otherwise, a strike could resume heading into the busy holiday season. In a statement, Canada Post says, we and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers have reached agreements in principle, but have not yet finalized the details of potential collective agreements for signature. While this is being done, it has been agreed that all strike or lockout activities are suspended. And just this week, Canada Post recorded its steepest quarterly loss in history to the tune of $541 million. Let's bring you some international news now. Prime Minister Mark Carney joined a group of world leaders at the G20 in South Africa, all putting out a joint statement saying U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to end the war in Ukraine needs some work. The leaders met on the edges of the summit after Ukraine warned it is under pressure to meet Trump's one-week deadline to answer. They said the plan had elements of a just and lasting peace, but cited concerns over border changes and caps on Ukraine's army. Trump today said the current U.S. draft is not his final offer. It calls on Kyiv to cede territory to Russia, reduce its military, and renounce ambitions to join NATO, all long-standing Kremlin demands. The COP30 climate conference has reached a compromise agreement, but some are saying it compromises too much. The deal boosts financing for poor countries trying to cope with the consequences of global warming. But 11th hour divisions remained on whether fossil fuels would be mentioned. A coalition led by Saudi Arabia was categorically opposed. Those favoring it eventually agreed to inclusion in a side text. Panama's negotiator described that as beyond incompetence. The U.S. did not send an official delegation. Well, China wasn't just visible at the COP30 environmental conference. It was, in fact, setting the tone. As the summit wraps up in Brazil, our Johanna Wagstaff speaks with the co-chair of Canada's Net Zero Advisory Body about what he observed on the ground.
For years, the argument went like this. Is there any point in taking climate action unless China, the world's biggest emitter, is fully on board? Well, this year, at the 30th International Climate Conference, or COP, in Belém, Brazil, that script finally flipped.
I've been working on this subject for, close to 30 years or something now. And when I first started, the argument everyone made was that, well, there's no point for North America, for the US and Canada to take action on climate change if China's not going to be there. Well, it's 2025 and China was all over COP30.
Simon Donner is co-chair of Canada's Net Zero Advisory Body.
The climate politics story has really flipped on its head.
Green and environmentally friendly cities.
China arrived with actual deliverables this time. Huge wind and solar rollouts and a clear plan to curb emissions. For scientists, that wasn't just optics. It matched the latest data showing China's emissions have been plateauing for roughly 18 months, years ahead of most model projections. China's pavilion was one of the busiest at COP, packed sessions, innovative solutions. But while China leaned in, the US, the world's largest historical emitter, didn't even show up. Representatives from some states like California came on their own, but no official delegation was present after the Trump administration pulled out of the climate accord altogether last year.
I'm immediately withdrawing from the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord ripoff.
That contrast shaped the entire atmosphere at COP30.
I would call the vibe around the US just irritation, like the world's just tired of it.
While China's commitments are front and center, its pledges to fund the global climate effort are under heavy scrutiny. China, long shielded by its developing country status, now faces pressure to contribute more as its economy grows. After all, developing nations are already paying the price of extreme weather and rising seas, and any real solution or adaptation plan will require funding.
You definitely notice what an influence money from China is having within Africa, et cetera, and in other parts of Asia.
But there's something else I want to mention. COP30 also shifted in another direction. Indigenous leadership shaped the conference on a scale not seen before. Their land stewardship is one of the clearest climate solutions backed by evidence. So, are we finally doing the work?
One of the biggest things I noticed at COP30 was the talk's all about implementation. I mean, it's been 10 years since the Paris Agreement was formed, and now we're at the point of just sort of making it happen.
And now, the reality check. Even with this new leadership at COP30, the world is still on track for about 2.7 degrees of warming by the end of the century, almost double our 1.5 degree goal. So even if China is no longer a main excuse, the stakes remain high and time is running out.
You're looking at a live shot of White Rock, absolutely drenched. Really weren't able to come up for air at all around the South Coast today, but in better news after the break, using Christmas trees to raise money for those without a home. We'll show you the Forest of Miracles on the North Shore. That's coming up next. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
On Friday, December 5th, start a new holiday tradition at CBC's Make the Season Kind in support of local food banks across BC. Come down to the CBC Outdoor Plaza where we're celebrating all things kind, from karaoke to a 5K run, plus exclusive treats, selfies, and more. For all the details and to find out how you can give, visit cbc.ca/kindbc.
We will end tonight on the North Shore where a forest of miracles has been planted using Christmas trees. It's part of West Vancouver's annual Dunderray Festival. Organizers say community members can donate by sponsoring a tree, and that money will help the unhoused.
We're here to end homelessness on the North Shore and to do it beautifully. So this is our 17th season, and these trees raise charitable donations through the Forest of Miracles Fund at the West Vancouver Foundation to support transition from out of homelessness to prevent homelessness and to provide emergency support for our neighbors who have lost their housing. And so we've seen some amazing things happen in the 17 years that we've been doing it. This year it's even more powerful because we're able to support families and youth and seniors in a way that we haven't done before. So when I say Forest of Miracles, it's because these trees actually save lives.
As the first time that we're going to be a beneficiary of this event, Michael extended an invitation to come and support putting up the trees together with the West Vancouver Fire Department. And this is just a great opportunity for our community to come together with others who've been supporters of the festival, start to meet each other and talk about different ways we can collaborate to end homelessness.
Us being firefighters, we're always wanting to be out in the community helping out, and this was a good charity for us to get involved with. And over the last 17 years, we've been able to not only help out with labor, but we've also been able to help out with donations. And you know, this Festival of Lights has almost raised almost $1 million, and so we're really proud to be part of that, both financially and with the labor.
And that's your late news for this Saturday, November 22nd. For news anytime, anywhere, download our free app. You can always find us online as well. We're at cbc.ca/BC. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.